What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Titans Time Podcast, your Tennessee Titans podcast for the Pigskin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Tyler Staggs, and as you can see, we have a special guest with us today. We have Chris Newell, also known as Titans in Truth, also known as the Blue Enforcer. Man, I feel like I'm introducing a WWE superstar almost. You got like, yeah, there you go. People like the Undertaker. You got the Dead Man, the American Badass, all the so. But man, I'm glad to have you on the show here. And
I
before
appreciate it.
and everyone, just to go ahead and get this out there, if you're not already, go follow him on Twitter at TNT Blue Enforcer. Go subscribe to his YouTube if you haven't already. You've been doing this for how many years now?
This is going into my sixth year doing this. So I've been doing it since 2016, and October 2022 will make 6 years I've been doing it.
Man, that is awesome. So if you're not already subscribed to him, you are missing out on probably one of the original guys to be covering the Titans on YouTube. So go subscribe to his channel. And also make sure you support our channel. We have our merch. All you have to do is go to titans-time.myshopify.com/collections/all. That link will be in the description, as will the link to Titans and Truth's YouTube channel, his Twitter, all of that. And another way you can support our show is go subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching in the live chat right now, back out of the live chat. If that subscribe button's red, click it, turn it gray, turn on the post notifications so you never miss when we go live again.
Hit that
And
bell.
yeah, hit that bell. Leave a like on the video. Leave us some comments. Be letting us know what your top moments are. We're going to cover a couple of other things besides just top 10 moments. And, we'll want y'all's interaction on that as well. And share the video. Get more people in here. The more people we have, the more we can chat it up, get different views, opinions. And later on, the audio version of this podcast will be out on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Make sure you go follow the podcast on those platforms. Leave us a 5-star rating. Leave us some comments, questions. We'd love that interaction. You can also find us on Twitter at Titans_time, Instagram Titans Time Podcast, and Facebook Titans Time. And now, Chris, let's jump into a couple of these comments right quick. We have Trail Donkey saying tighten up to you. My wife is in the chat. Hey guys, let's go.
Always got to support the ladies in our lives.
Yes, always. Her and my daughter out there watching the channel right now. So, so thankful for them. If it wasn't for my wife, wouldn't even have started up this podcast or YouTube channel. So, had never really thought about it. And just her and my future sister-in-law were talking to me and my brother, and they were like, look, as much as y'all talk about football, y'all got to start up a podcast and talk about it. And now here we are. And we have Ian the Hyper Mapping in Sports Tighten Up. He has went and sub to you, and my wife has also went and subbed to your channel. So
hey, much appreciated. Much appreciated.
There we go. So
yeah,
Chris,
I'm actually
go
ahead.
And
we finna go into that. I'm actually retweeting all of this out right now as we speak to some people. I'm like, hey, come on in. Can't hurt.
This has been something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, trying to figure out some time to get you on. And, I've been wanting to get you on the show, do a live stream with you. So thank you again for coming on. And hopefully won't be the last time you're on. This off season, it's going to be a long off season, especially after the way things ended. But
I know that's right. So it is an absolute honor. I'm glad to be on with you. I appreciate it. And we're going to have some fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I know actually met you at one of the games or a couple of the games, and Um, I think you actually said in the same section as us, just further down.
Mhm.
You are a season ticket member, right? Or do
I
you?
I am a season ticket holder, although I'm trying to wonder how I'm gonna renew this year, but um, you know, hey, don't come easy. So, but yes, I am a season ticket holder and plan on keeping that going.
There you go. We are as well, and we want to keep that going. And since you're a season ticket holder, I know I talked about this with Rossi last week. I want to get your opinion on it. And you may have already talked about it, but I know opinions are kind of split. Talks about a new stadium for the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your thoughts on that from a fan perspective, but also, as you mentioned, hey, these season tickets, they cost money. That PSL, that that costs money
That
from
it
a
does.
season ticket holder standpoint as well. And knowing, I'm sure where your seats are, you like where it's at. You like being right there. So I want to get your thoughts from both perspectives because I told Rossi, I'm kind of torn on it. Like, yes, I would love for the Titans to be in a new stadium, just the hype that in itself that would be around that. But also, hey, I like where our seats are, and I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to lose them, but also don't want to have to pay an outrageous PSL fee after we just got ours paid off.
Yeah, I agree. And so what I'm gonna do, since it's off the top of the dome, I'm gonna give it to you from not just me being a fan season ticket perspective, but I'm also look at it from a professional sense for what this does for the city of Nashville and for the
Mm-hmm.
Titans themselves. So on that side, on that perspective, I think as far as it being that it will be huge for the city of Nashville to get um a Super Bowl, to get NCAA Final Fours, to
Mm-hmm.
get college football national championships or playoff games, to get like a WrestleMania or
Mm-hmm.
for example, SummerSlam is going to be at Nissan Stadium in July, so it's going to be on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually going to be kind of a litmus test of sorts to kind of see like, okay, we're going to be building a new stadium. We got to show out for this one and show that when this new stadium is built, we'll pack that one for WrestleMania too, because that'll be a
Mm-hmm.
whole big weekend. So I think for the city of Nashville themselves, I think it would be amazing. It would be a astronomical rise in income. It would make Nashville one of the top cities in the country to go to. It's already a great city to go to travel wise. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's the number one city in the nation for bachelorette parties. The ladies love to go get drunk there on
Mm-hmm.
Broadway. So, from a economical financial perspective, I think for bringing more money into the city, I think it will be great on that. Now, the cost is going to be difficult because, of course, the reports came out that it would be about $600 million. It was originally supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
$600 million. They were just going to renovate. Come to
Mm-hmm.
find out now, with inflation and everything that's going on in the country, they double that. So now you're looking at 1.2 billion just for renovation. And if you could build a new stadium, for two and a half million, two and a half billion,
Mm-hmm.
you might as well go all in and you might as well go all in and build a state of the art, brand new indoor retractable roof stadium, and really put yourselves on the map for the entire world to know, because that would, and as long and it looks like that's probably where they're headed. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
where they're going. I don't think they have much of a choice, but as long as they don't, quote unquote, excuse my language, half-assed it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it try to be cheap. Don't do it, you know, just I'm just gonna halfway my way through this.
Mm-hmm.
Just I'll do the bare minimum. That's what Nissan Stadium is. It's the bare minimum. This one you got to Go all
Yep.
in. Go all in. Get all the kicks and giggles, to get all the bells and whistles, get everything to make it so it is a state of the art and it is a true home field advantage, and make it so it's just, man, this stadium, man, I love going to this stadium.
Yep.
And now going into a fan perspective, me personally, I have prayed to the gods for this, and it looks like we are close to my dream coming true, because I know a lot of people, I've heard some people have been for this. There are some that are against it, saying, well, football's an outdoor sport. You should play it in the elements and things like that. Here's my thing. Don't get me wrong. I used to play football. Yes, I don't mind playing in the, playing the elements is all well and good. But at the same time, if you're going to a game, if you go into a preseason game in August or right in the beginning of the year, you're about to get cooked. I could probably get on the steps right now, scramble some eggs, cook some sausage on the steps right there, and they probably cook pretty good because you're burning up. Or get into December or January, you're sitting there and you're trying to cheer, but you're freezing your buns off. Like, okay, I'm like this, trying to stay warm in the winter, whether it's snowing or it's just super cold. And I'm gonna give you a quick moment back in the day. Or if it's pouring down rain, you're getting drenched, your clothes getting wet, and all this. You can't really enjoy it because of that. Go indoors or retractable roof. If it's around 60 to 80 degrees, open that sucker up.
Yep.
If it's gonna rain or if it's gonna snow or if it's super cold, close that sucker and we're good. Or if you go indoors, it's like, okay, it's pouring, it's raining. You get into the stadium, you got your jacket on and everything. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Take off and be like, yeah, let's go.
Yep.
So I for that perspective, I love it. But at the same time, I know it's an issue of cost. It is a issue of, our tickets are gonna go up and things like that. And I mean, we all have to prepare for that, because we know it's going to come eventually. So, I hopefully will have to try to save some money and put some aside. So I know when it's time to do that, I am ready to fork over that money.
Yep.
And I'll be ready to rock and roll in this new stadium. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I'm ready because, and I know I'm talking your head off.
Oh, no, you're good.
Went to a game against Pittsburgh. It was a Zach Mettenberger game, which is probably one of the better games that he played, even though he threw a pick six. But I still remember, I wasn't sure if I was going to the game, and I think I got some free tickets. I think my job at the time gave it away. So I'm sitting in the upper decks, and I'm talking about, this is probably one of the coldest games I've ever been to. It was like 20-something degrees, and I am freezing my tail off. The only comfort I had was going into the bathroom, and they had a screen in there. And there's a lot of us guys that are just standing there trying to get warm. And then when somebody is doing something a little extra in the bathroom, and you get that, okay, you know what? It's time for me to go back outside and freeze to death now.
Yep.
It's like, because it just messes up everything. So, yeah, cold weather games, just hold that till you get home. Oh, that right there is why I'm like, yes, new stadium, indoor. So that's what I feel about that. But yeah, the cost it's gonna be up. That's probably not a good thing, but I hear that they're trying to take away where it's gonna cost the taxpayers, so to speak. It'll probably more so on us Titan fans. But I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Bring it.
Right. Well, everything you mentioned there, like you said, from looking at it from every aspect, because as soon as I saw all the talks about that and how, what they had the renovations estimated at, and how it doubled in cost after they got to looking at it more. So they started talking about a new stadium. I was like, it honestly makes more sense to build that new stadium. I
I
mean,
agree.
like you said, if you're going to drop billions of dollars into something, go ahead and do a new stadium. Like you said, don't half-ass it, because if you're dropping that much money into something, make it worthwhile. Make
Exactly.
it, do it right. That way, when you get, 20 years down the road again, you're not possibly having to drop, another couple billion just to try and renovate it. It just make it to where it's, I'm not saying you have to go as far as like the Raiders and Rams and Chargers. That, like, you don't have to just blow the top off of the budget, but make it worthwhile. And I like what you said about the retractable roof. Yes, I get about, and that's something I've been guilty of saying it before. Like, yeah, playing out in the elements. I mean, we've seen how the elements affected when the Dolphins come up to play this
Mhm.
past year. Tua trying to hold on to the ball, and we saw how that affected him. But at the same time, I'm thinking about it from a fan perspective. I was at that Texans game when it was
Mhm.
pouring down rain,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, as long as the Titans win this game, it's going to be worth me standing out here being soaked from head to toe. Because I know you live
Mhm.
in Memphis, so you have a long drive home. I live a couple hours south of Nashville. So, by the time I got to my car after that game, I was already pissed off about the Titans losing. And then I was soaked to the bone and having to drive that hour and a half, 2 hours home. And I'm like, oh, this, I am not happy. So that's
It
where
just
that,
makes it all the worse. It just makes
it
that
does.
drive all the worse.
It does. So I like where you're going with the retractable roof. My only thing that I want them to stick with, keep real grass in there. Stay away from the turf.
I, you
Do
know, I 100% agree with that. Now, the only downside is the retractable roof does cost more,
Mhm.
and also, if you look at some of the other teams in the league, the majority of them really keep their roofs closed anyway. Like
Right.
some of them really don't open the retractable roof much at all. With that, so that could be part of it,
Mhm.
as far as that goes. And the only other thing I'm kind of wondering about is location of where they're going to build. I think I think from what I've been hearing, what they're most likely going to try to do is that parking lot, or the big
Mhm.
parking lot. I think they're going to put the stadium there, right next door,
Mhm.
which I don't know how they're going to pull that off. Try to build a stadium directly next door. I feel like it's going to be kind of a tight knit
Right.
crunch right there. And I mean, you got the Quality Inn right there. You just built the La Quinta Inn right next to that. I don't know how that's gonna play into all of this. I mean, I would probably say for those people, it's like they're gonna be looking out a window, stadium right there, like right in their face. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Um, I know they want to kind of keep it as close to downtown as possible,
Mhm.
because I mean that would be a good idea, and just try to build it right there and then implode Nissan Stadium, which I mean that'll give some more room for parking and
Yeah.
other stuff like businesses and things like that. So I mean I could be okay with that. It just I would like to see the schematics of that
Mhm.
before they start to do it, to see how that's going to work.
Right.
It looked like it probably could work. I
Right.
think it looks like it could work. I mean, the juvenile court right there, they're gonna move that so they can use that space also. So it's gonna be interesting to see how all of this plays out
Mhm.
necessarily. But again, I'm looking forward to it. Or they could just play in the soccer stadium for a couple of years, put it on the same spot. I mean, I think they could go either way with that. So
Right.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, they have options, and that's what I was saying too about, putting the new one in that bigger parking lot. And then I was actually just talking to my wife about it before hopping on here, and was telling her that I think there would be room in that parking lot. And then the way that, of course, they would make up the parking is after they got this one built, tear down the old stadium and put the parking there. And
I would
I
say a
think
parking garage.
Yeah,
A garage.
I think it's smart to put it close to downtown there, because then, you have people who are either on Broadway before games or after games. They're heading there, depending either to celebrate or to, drink away a Titans loss. So,
Right.
now, I wanted to hit on that. Let's go ahead and hop into your top 10. We're going to go 10 through 6 first. And, as you name them off, we're going to talk about them some and just kind of relive these moments. And we'll also, towards the end of the video, after we get through all 10 of yours, we're going to talk about where you think the Titans need to go this offseason, main focus, what that needs to be. And also just what you think they have to do to make that Super Bowl run this next year. So let's go ahead and hop into it.
All right. Well, let's see. So we started at number 10.
Yep.
My number 10 moment will have to be, and I'm going to let y'all know this is not easy for me to put this together. This is hard. But I would say number 10 has to be against the Jags. That first, I think it was the first play of the game, defensive touchdown. Elijah Molden, picture perfect tackle. I believe that was on Eifert. Picture perfect tackle. Ball comes loose. Byard picks it up, runs it into the end zone. His first defensive touchdown of his career, which, more is to come from that. And it just basically kicked off the game. And that was after the Jets loss, which was so depressing. And just to see that just told me, I'm like, okay, this Elijah Molden kid, he might have something.
Yep.
He's got something. And so that particular moment, it was just a great way to start off the game. We end up winning 37-19, really got to Trevor Lawrence, made his life miserable, let him know what his, at least his next 4 years is going to look like going up against us Titans. So that would be my number 10 moment.
Yeah, I like that moment. I believe Rossi had that moment, not necessarily just that play, because he was at that Jaguars game and on the sideline that happened on. And like you said, that was kind of that moment where you could look at Elijah Molden and be like, okay, we may have something here. And after that loss to the Jets, I feel like we needed that play to start the game as just kind of a reset and being like, okay, this team's ready to go today.
Exactly.
So I like that moment. We'll roll on into number 9 now.
Number 9, even though it was a loss to the Patriots, Deontay Foreman's first 100-yard game. We were all kind of down after the news about Derrick Henry, wondering what was the Titans going to do. At this point, we tried Adrian Peterson, and, God bless him. He's a Hall of Famer. Don't get me wrong. Got a touchdown with us and everything. But Deontay Foreman showed why we should have never let him go last year. He should have been on this team all along from the beginning of the year. And I mean, ran hard, ran purpose. I'm like, and in the next couple of games, I'm like, okay, Henry Jr. I'm like, he's not Derrick Henry by any means,
right?
But he has some Derrick Henry tendencies the way he wants the ball. Now, don't get me wrong, he fumbled the ball in that game, which was not good. But just seeing that, he ran 100 yards and Hilliard had that big touchdown run, told me, I'm like, okay, I think our running game is going to be just fine. I mean, yeah, do we have the explosiveness of Derrick Henry? No, but I think these two guys, they can hold in until Derrick Henry came back,
Mm-hmm.
and they were very, very solid with what they did. So that was number 9.
Yeah, like you said, even though he fumbled in that game, which I believe Hilliard fumbled as well
They
that
both
game,
did.
and like you said, it showed us that okay, our running game's going to be okay. These guys can handle it, and the only question it left was or concern was we're like okay, Henry's ball carrying and ability to take care of the football and not fumble, that's what these guys have to work on. Like
Yeah.
if they get that added in along with, they were starting to hit their stride, then that's what was keeping really turning our offense back around for
Mm-hmm.
us by getting that run game back going and not just having to rely on the pass game and
Yeah.
our defense. So yeah, that's another good moment. And like you said, Foreman he's not Henry, but he has those tendencies. Like, yes, he doesn't have that top end speed that Henry has,
Right.
but if you pair him and Henry together, Henry when he's not rusty or
Mm-hmm.
just coming back, I don't know what defenses would do with that backfield because, right now defenses, I've said this before, they're looking at it when Henry's in there, when he's running off, like, okay, we're going to get a little break from hitting a bigger guy. And then you look and see Foreman coming in,
Exactly.
and it's like, okay, gotta buckle this back up a little bit tighter again because he's not, he's going to be
Yeah.
running just as hard.
Yeah. I consider that to the same thing I would feel with when it was Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. It's
Mhm.
like DeMarco Murray was running well, and then the defense see him going off the field. It's like, oh, thank God he's
Yeah.
going off the field. But then you see a 250-pound monster coming in, like, oh no, now we got to tackle this guy. No, it's like no matter what, you're poisoned.
Yep. uh, yeah, that I I'm wondering, and we can dive into this more if they maybe bring Foreman back again next year, or if he performed well enough that there's a team out there that's gonna give him a little bit more than what the Titans would be willing to pay. But
Mm-hmm.
we need that guy behind Henry who, he's not gonna be out hurt all the time and can actually, I know we always talk about Henry gets better as the season goes along. As he starts getting more carries and gets in his rhythm, he's good. But there's times where maybe giving him that little extra break and bringing in another running back like Foreman to take over and actually be there, where it would help out to keep from overusing Henry. So,
I agree.
and now we'll just slide right on into number 8.
Number 8. This was not easy on this one. I'm gonna go with the game against the Texans, the last one. Um, the last one that clinched us the number 1 seed. Even though I have turned on this guy, Tannehill's 3 TDs in the second quarter, I
Mhm.
thought was very impressive. Elusive touchdown, which should have been his second touchdown of the year, but they counted as his first.
Yep.
Um, coming in out, and all I keep thinking is, I'm like, you see, Titans, you see what happens when you throw Julio the ball? He can do stuff with it. And it's
Yep.
just that's the thing I hated all year. Everybody talking about, well, Julio, you can't count on him. He's always hurting things. And I'm like, yes, hurt, understood. But
Mhm.
I'm like, when he's in there, they don't throw him the ball.
Yep.
I'm like, Tannehill spends so much time going to Anthony Ferguson or Jeff Swaim or Nick Westbrook-Akina all the time, which I'm thinking Nick Westbrook-Akina being second in targets is an absolute sham to me, to be perfectly honest. I know Nick Westbrook-Akina was just doing his job, and I'm
Mhm.
not really hating on NWI like that, but I said this on my show, and I'll say it as much till I will beat the dead horse. AJ and Julio, especially in the playoff game, which we'll talk about,
Mm-hmm.
AJ and Julio should be your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th options before you look at anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Those AJ and Julio should be your first 10 options before you look to anybody else. Every time the ball is snapped, where's 11? Where's 2?
Yep.
That's it. Forget about 15. Forget about 86. Where is 11? Where is 2? And I'm force feeding the ball the whole time. I play Madden. I make sure those 2 guys are catching the ball. I don't care about anybody else. Now, if somebody else is just flat out open, like parting the Red Sea open, okay, I see that. But other than that, when the game's on the line, 11 or 2. And Tannehill did a job, he escaped.
Yeah. When it comes down, and again, we'll get more into this because I'm sure, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that playoff game. But when it comes down to those critical moments, I don't understand why you don't have number 2 out there for the last couple of plays. Because if you have Julio and AJ both out there, then maybe at that point, NWI is open on that one throw.
Right.
Because, yes, it's easy when you just have one of those guys out there as far as AJ and Julio to throw 2 people on them, 3 people on them, and be like, we're just going to man up everyone else because we don't think they can beat us in man-to-man coverage. But if you have AJ and Julio both out there, you can't just put 3 guys on both of them because someone's going to be open.
Exactly. Exactly. And that makes sense.
So that's, and like I said, we'll dive more into that. But yes, that last Houston game, a lot better than the first Houston game. And, like you said, Julio's what should have been his second touchdown, but counts as his first. It is what it is. Either way, he got it. I agree. I think for a lot of the season, people were being too hard on Julio. Like, yes, I get he was hurt some, but like you said, when he was out there, you got to be looking to try and get him the ball. Same with AJ. You get these guys the ball and good things happen. I mean, look at the Seattle game. You start getting Julio involved and it opens things up. When you start getting AJ involved, it opens so much more up and good things can happen. So, yeah, that's a good moment to put on there. And, we talked before we went live, and it really is just looking back at this last season as far as individual plays, moments, games. It's so hard to come up with what is on everybody's top 10 list because there's so many good things.
I agree.
So, yeah, I like that being on there, though. And now, what you got at number 7 for us?
First off, shout out to the business. Thank you for bringing me the some good go-go juice, some water. With that, so appreciate that. Number 7, even though this was an extremely painful game, the aforementioned playoff game, the 9 sacks against Joe Burrow. I mean, this defensive line got after Joe Burrow's tail and just made life miserable for him. And that alone, the Titans deserve to win the game just off of that alone, because I have never heard of a team have 9 sacks and lose the game.
Yep.
And again, to everybody out there, you may have heard me say this, and if you haven't, in Tannehill cost us that game. Yes, Todd Downing sucked the play calling. Not even going to take that away. But Ryan Tannehill cost us that game, and that's why I'm done with him. I can't go with him. But that defensive line got after Burrow, which is why They better do everything in their power to bring back Harold Landry. There is no excuse why Harold Landry should not be on this team. I understand you got the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Salary cap's a myth. You can manipulate the salary cap. I mean, I said this on my show the other night. It makes no sense if you're having a salary cap. The Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, last year was about 20, 25 million or something over the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they re-signed Chris Jones. I think the year before they paid Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and they just gave Patrick Mahomes the richest contract, not just in NFL history, in all of pro sports. He's making more money than baseball players are making.
Right.
He's making he'll be making $45 million a season, and we already see Aaron Rodgers wants $50 million a year from the Packers.
I agree. It's salary cap. We've said it before. It's not real. I mean, when it comes down to there is ways to manipulate the salary cap, make it work out. And I know people say, "Oh, well, if you backload these contracts, that's going to be less you have in the future." If you look at the salary cap minus, when COVID hit and that affected it keeps going up. So if you backload these contracts, by the time you get to those years that they're backloaded to, that's going to seem like chump change at that point. It's not going to matter.
And the TV deals are kicking in, so it's going to continue going up. And I want to say, and I don't have no facts, so don't quote me on this, probably within the next 3 or 4 years, that salary cap is going to be over $300 million.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, it's the way I have a feeling it's going to. We're seeing that slow build back up from where COVID hit and how that brought it back down, and now it's going back up a little bit. I have a feeling it's going to end up skyrocketing, like you said. And at that point, I agree with you. Harold Landry, Titans have to find a way to get him back. Keep this front four intact, because if you're able to get after a quarterback that much, I mean, you think back to the AFC Championship game that we lost. We couldn't get to Mahomes.
Couldn't.
We have a front four now that can get to any quarterback.
And I mean, and here's the crazy thing, and I didn't mean to cut you off right there, but here's the crazy thing. That year we went to the AFC Championship game, we had 44 sacks during the year.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we were still screaming, we need a pass rusher.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. We were still screaming, man, we need a pass rusher. We need a pass rusher. And we had 44 sacks going into that, and we couldn't get to Mahomes. And now, you had 9 sacks. I mean, Big Jeff had 2 or 3 in that game. I think Landry had 2. Dupree had 1.5. And I think Autry had like 1.5. So, I mean, and I say this all the time. With that type of pass rushers don't grow on trees.
Mm-mm.
And I say this all the time. The 4 premium positions that are the hardest to find: quarterback, corner, tackle, pass rusher. When you have one, you do not let them go. They do not get the free agency at all. And so you can't let Harold Landry go. And I understand AJ's got to get paid very soon. Big Jeff is going to get paid very, very soon. Absolutely. And they deserve, AJ and Big Jeff deserve absolutely every penny they're about to get. Don't get me wrong. If Big Jeff wants $20-some million, I have no problem with that because he deserves it. Yep. Now, AJ getting about 20. I'll come down to about 18. You know, I don't know about 20 because he does get hurt. But AJ is a baller.
Right.
But those 9 sacks were incredible. Danico Autry, just such a underrated. I think he was the hero of the draft class. I mean, of the free agent class.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. Just seeing that, I was like, oh my God, they got to him again?
Yeah. I'm telling you, what being at that game, first half, they had 5 sacks. And like it in my head, it wasn't really clicking at the time when they were getting the sacks. But then after I got to thinking about it heading into halftime, I was like, wait, I need to look this up. I was like, this can't be right. They have gotten to him so much. And I seen 5 sacks, and I looked at my wife. I said, the Titans have 5 sacks on Burrow in the first half.
I think they
said,
had like 3 or 4 in the first quarter.
Yeah, I was like, I have never seen anything like this. Like it's crazy. And coming out, I'm like, just keep it rolling, keep getting after him. And a prime example of taking advantage of all those sacks, you look at the Rams in the Super Bowl. 7 sacks on Burrow. And guess what? They capitalized and were able to win the game, win the Super Bowl. Just when I think I'm over that loss, every now and then, that's what pisses me off, I think, the most about it, or it pissed me off the most about it, was the fact of how well our defense played, getting those 9 sacks just for it to be thrown out the window there.
And
that's what got to me most.
And that's, and in that game, and we're going to keep going. I know I'm talking everybody's head off. I'm sorry about that. But it's the fact, those 9 sacks. Yes, Joe Burrow threw for 340 yards, but he didn't throw not one touchdown pass in that whole game. And despite the other 2 picks, the Titans had a chance to win. They still had a chance to win. And I mean, and I was telling this to a couple of my coworkers at the station I work at, and yet people were saying, well, but you still gave up 19 points. I'm like, hold on. Let's put that into perspective. Yes, 19 points. But if you take away those 2 interceptions, if you take away 3 interceptions, that's 9 points. Well, no, the 3 picks, 6 points gave up. Because I forget, 1 interception, they didn't score anything. 6 points. Take that away, it's a 13-13 game. And if Tannehill does not throw that pick, the second one that went to I think it was Hilton that made the pick, and it was a good play by him. If we score on that drive, who knows what that game looks like? We could have won. Or it could have been, we at least had 3 points in the bag. Throw the pick, well, that's gone.
Right.
It's a game of inches. And it's like those little inches is what cost us right there. Tannehill throwing that interception at the 10-yard line when we could have just kept going with Foreman, score, and it's an entirely different game.
And that's the thing that I guess threw me off about that series, how it ended, was the fact of Foreman just ripped off that big run to get us down there. And I looked at my wife, I said, they're going to keep feeding him right here.
I'm like,
because I'm like, at the way he broke through the line there, had that big run, I was like, he has the hot hand right now. They're fixing to hand it to him again, and he's going to get in the end zone. Like, just simple as that. And then when they threw that bubble screen, I was like, why? Or the RPO, I was like, why? Like, that makes no sense. And then, of course, it fired me up even more after, a couple days after the game, seeing the Bengals talking on the sidelines of, I know they're going to come back to that, and when they do, I'm picking it off.
I mean, I saw that. It is like, I know we talk a lot about, and again, we're going to get to the rest of the list.
Yeah.
I know we talk about not being too predictable, but sometimes It is okay to be predictable if you know it's going to work. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes, hey, you can keep running the same play over and over. If they're not stopping it,
Yep.
why change? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it seemed like in that game, Todd Downing and Ryan Tannehill at times tried to fix something that wasn't broken. And
Yep.
you created another problem that shouldn't have been there.
Exactly. So
So
it, but back to happier times here. I believe that was number
yes,
7, if I
that was
remember
7.
right. So let's hop into 6.
6, Colts game, the second one. Big comeback, down 14 points. Tannehill turns the ball over, thinking, oh my God, we're messing up again. And then the defensive lineman fumbles. And not only that, I think he had a season-ending injury, I believe, on that particular play. Next play, A.J. Brown down the sideline, touchdown. And Titans come back from behind, get the interception on the bad mistake by Wentz, and then Byard with the interception as well in overtime. And that was a great microcosm of events that happened in that game, because I'm thinking we're about to lose to the Colts like this. And then you get the Molden pick. Then you get the over and everything. You're thinking, okay, we're gonna win this game. And then all Wentz had on his side was the refs the whole time. Pass interference. I mean, that's the only way they got down the field. Nothing was getting completed.
That was their offense for the majority of the season as far as deep passes go. Just Wentz throwing it up, and there would be a pass interference called. But, I know, like I said, I've had Stephanie on the show, Rossi, Power Hour, and I believe all of them had that on their list as well. I think Power Hour actually grouped both Colts games together, because we had the sweep on them. But for me, that game, like you said, being down 14-0, obviously I don't give up on the team until fourth quarter. All the clock hits all zeros.
Right.
Then I'm like, okay, it's done. That
Henry
they can't
goes
come back.
down.
Right. But that being down 14-0, I'm like, okay, all it takes is, a couple of good things happening here, getting something going, getting a stop, getting our defense calmed down. And once that happened, they turned it on. Carson Wentz did Carson Wentz things, and it didn't surprise any Titans fans. Now he may be on the way out. Who knows?
Right.
As much hyping up for him as Colts fans were doing last offseason, like, keep him around, please. Like, Titans fans would really appreciate it.
I agree. Absolutely. I mean, don't let him go. Don't let him go.
Exactly.
Don't let go. Hold on to him.
Yeah.
Believe in him. And I see my brother Christian is in the chat. Shout out to my little brother coming in. I know, as a Bengals fan, which I tell him, I said, I don't know where I went wrong in life that he chooses the Bengals of all teams. But I told him, you know what? Hey, you made a choice. You made your own decision, and you stick with that decision. If you're going to be a fan of that team, you are a fan of that team all the way, through the good and the bad.
Yep.
So when they suck, you can't say, I want to pick another team. No. This ain't how it works.
Exactly.
That ain't how it works. You stick with them in the good, stick them in the bad. You and I both know we're in the highs now. We've been there during the Wizard Hunt years, which was absolutely miserable. And we had to battle through that. So shout out to my brother watching on.
And now I have to ask you, knowing that he's a Bengals fan, Matt, how hard did you have it for that time after that playoff loss?
I didn't want to talk. There was a time, my brother knows this. There was a time I was so upset about this game. he was talking like, yeah, who they? I'm like, you know what? Click. I hung up the phone. I was just that upset. Like, I'm like, I don't want to hear this.
Yeah, right.
Especially from my brother getting the hound on me like this.
Exactly.
I'm like, my mom and my brother were hounding on me about it. I was like, look, I need some time. So after that, I did call back and I apologized. I said, I'm sorry. I hung up the phone. I was angry and all this and that. And I had to give him some time too, because I knew he was ticked off after the Super Bowl. And so I
Right.
gave him a couple of days. Because I was like, I know he angry and I'm not finna, I wasn't gonna say anything. And so my
Right.
mom was like, hey, look, you gotta take it too, because you got on him when
Right.
you beat the Titans, and now it's your turn to take it. I was like, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm not
Right.
gonna do that. I love my brother. I'm not gonna do that for him. Although in the back of my mind, I really wanted to.
Right. The only problem with that is, getting on him for his team losing the Super Bowl. It's like, well, hey, at least my team kept your team from even sniffing it. So,
Right. Like they were in the Super Bowl. We were not.
Yeah. So, well, man, that was, a great 10 through 6 there. Now, right quick, I'm going to hop into our best bets segment presented by DraftKings. And as you can see there, DraftKings, they have an amazing offer right now for new customers. Chris, I'm not sure if you like to do any betting here and there on whether it be football, basketball, but for hoops fans right now, the latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, it's too good to pass up. And I'm talking like a John Morant between the legs 360 windmill, because we know he has the hops for
Yes.
that. And, new customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if that team wins. It's that simple. And if Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Basketball Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. All you have to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code TPPN, bet just one on any NBA team, and get $150 in free bets if that team wins. That's promo code TPPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 years or older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Tennessee, call or text the TN Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In New York, call 877-8-467-369 or text 467-369. And Chris, I know from following you on Twitter, you go to Grizzlies games, and a bet that I'm already kind of looking at, because this is our best bet segment, and it's not betting advice. Not going to say that by any means. Me and my brother, we had a competition going through the season for the Titans. We were throwing our best bets out there. We usually done 2 per show, and I actually came out over 50% on getting them right. And one that I'm looking at, new customers, you may take advantage of this. Tomorrow night, the Grizzlies play the Bulls.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it right now. They have the Bulls favored by 1. So that Grizzlies money line of plus 100, where, you double your money there if they win. It would be tough, but I think going with the Grizzlies money line, DraftKings doesn't have the Grizzlies player props up yet, so I'm not sure where Jaws points are at. I'm sure it's like 27.5 or something like that. But the Bulls are playing some pretty good ball right now with DeMar DeRozan, who may just be the mid-range king in the league right now. I mean, dude is he's crazy.
Yeah.
But you think the Grizzlies can get the win tomorrow against the Bulls?
Yeah, and I did a parlay on a sports book last night against the Timberwolves. And I nearly won that parlay. I did like a $10 bet. Probably could have won like $70. I think I had Josh scoring over 20. I think I had like 6 different things, and I need all 6 to hit. I got 5 out of the 6.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate
Triple
that.
J. I had Triple J getting over 4.5 rebounds. I had Steven Adams over 7.5 rebounds. I think the over under was 240.5. I went under, got that. Ja 20 or more. I'm trying to think of what else I had. I know I had the under, Triple J, Steven Adams, Ja 20 or more. It was something else. And then I just had the Grizzlies winning by 2. And that was the only thing I missed. The Grizzlies didn't win. That's the only thing that messed me up. And I'll even go back in the season. I did a 5 games. Could have won. I think I did I want to say like a $50 or $25 bet. Could have won $600. Cleveland versus the Chargers. All Cleveland had to do was lose by 4. And I think there was a point where they were winning and then they lost. I think I had them at 4.5 plus 4.5, lost by 5. And that broke my heart up. Like I nearly could have won almost $700 and I missed it by a half a point. That just made
one of my buddies, he gets on me. He was like, I don't know why you always parlay these. If you would just do this, because I done, which I think it was a college basketball parlay, had a 15-leg parlay set up. I got 14 out of 15 on it. And, it was like, I forget how much I bet on it and how much exactly it would win. But, I sent that to him. And that's when he told me, he's like, I don't know why you always parlay these. He's like, nobody goes 14 of 15. I was like, well, apparently I do. And then, I've been a little off on my betting here lately, but done some 25-leg parlays. And there was one where $1 would win me 24 grand.
Right.
I hit I hit 21 out of 25. Wow. And I was like, man, that's just a killer. And even last night, I think I done a 25 leg. It wouldn't have won as much, but I hit 22 out of 25. I was like, and I sent it to my buddy. I was like, one of these days, I'm going to hit one of these.
I wish it was like, I wish it was like it could be a way of, if you do like a 10 leg, if you win those 9, if you get 9 out of 10, just pay me for the 9 that I got.
Yeah.
Pay me for the 9 that I got.
Exactly.
Come on.
Especially when you're looking at that 25 leg, I'm like, if I hit 21 out of 25, like, hey, just look, I'll tell you what, even whatever the winnings would have been for hitting 21, split it in half for me. I'll take that. Exactly. Just give me something for.
And I've done that during the football season just for kicks and giggles. I would probably do like a $1 bet, bet on all the games money line. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, it's just $1. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world. Although,
exactly,
be nice to turn that $1 into like 5,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's where it gets me is I'm looking at that number. I'm like, $1 gets me this. I'll risk $1 for that because, that $1, I can't do much with it. That money I can win, I can do quite a bit with that.
Exactly. So I think I like the Grizzlies to win on tomorrow night. I think they start off a little slow. Ja gave us a scare with the injury. Don't know what his status will be for tomorrow night, and that could definitely change a lot depending on his availability
Right.
and everything. So I would probably watch out for that. If I'm anybody, whatever Steven Adams rebounds is, go over that because he usually gets about 10 rebounds a game.
Yep.
So I would, if it's like 6, 7.5, I would say go over with Steven Adams on rebounds with that. With Desmond Bain, I would go over maybe 2 threes for
Yep.
Bain in the game as well. So that's just a couple I'm throwing that I would throw off just off the top of my head. I didn't really look at the lines and stuff for tomorrow like that, but I bet a little. I bet a little
Right.
when I have the
Yeah.
money.
I have DraftKings was that they had a little offer out there where if you bet on you had to bet $25 on a team future for any team to win the championship this year. You bet that, and then however many games, or for every game that the team you bet on wins after the All-Star break, you get a free bet for that. So, I'm looking at the Grizzlies and I'm like, you know what? I know that they're doing good this year. I don't know that anyone really has them picked to be favorites to go to the championship and win. But I'm like, I'm gonna go drop some money on the Grizzlies as champions just in case, hey, they make that run. It's pretty good pay out there, and I like the Grizzlies. They've had a good start to the season. After the All-Star break, I think they can, like you said yesterday, they dropped one, but I like for maybe I'm getting quite a few free bets after the All-Star break from them. So
Yeah, and I want to say I think they are. I was looking on one of the other books as well. I think they're plus 1,200 to win the West. So I'm like, I might say drop some money on the Grizz to win the West. I mean, Jay Will on Get Up a couple of days ago said he's made a bold prediction, predicted that the Grizzlies go to the finals, and I'm like, I might have to hop on that.
right, yeah, I like. And how lucky are we here in Tennessee? We have, obviously with the Titans, we've got like Derrick Henry, we've got AJ Brown, Jeffrey Simmons, and then with the Grizzlies, we have Jaren Jackson Jr. We have Ja Morant, who is, I mean, anytime the dude touches the ball, it's possibly going to be a highlight. Unfortunately, we have Hulu Live, and I'm like, okay, being in Tennessee, I'll be able to watch several of these Grizzlies games. Like, surely they'll have it on there. Man, I haven't been able to catch one Grizzlies game on TV. I'm just having to keep up with it on ESPN. I'm like, come on, Hulu. I am wanting to watch Ja Morant. Got to watch him in the All-Star game a little bit, and
Yeah,
I know how players feel about the dunk contest and everything, but after the dunks that Ja Morant's throwing down in that All-Star game, I'm like, just one time, go out there, show out for it.
I know, right?
I want to see what you got.
I you know that dunk contest, like Stephen A said, he was like, that was probably the worst dunk contest of all time.
Mhm.
And I could believe it. I saw some highlights. And I'm like,
Yep.
Ja would have smoked these guys easily. Like that would have
And he
not
wouldn't even
been
had to have
any
been in his bag.
it he would have even had to try hard. He would have been
Exactly.
some of them, he would have been able to pull some dunks with blindfold or just in his sleep.
Yep.
He would have won that dunk contest in his sleep. Doesn't even have he would have even had to show up much to win that one. So
Exactly. So yeah, like I said, I think the odds for the Grizzlies to win the finals or win the championship was like plus 2,500. So hey, $25 bet pays out like 650. So yeah, I
Right.
hopped on that, but I did want to get into talking some Grizzlies with you because, like I said, I know you've been to some of the games, and I know it's got to be awesome going there and watching Ja play in person.
Yes, it is. It is worth the price of admission. And again, I'm sorry I've been talking everybody's head off,
No, you're
but
good.
one of the highlights of my time, I was living in Nashville at the time, and I remember I was working out at a Planet Fitness, and the draft lottery was going on. And so at that time, all we kept thinking is, okay, the Grizzlies need to convey this pick to the Celtics, give this pick to the Celtics so we can get it over with. And they were saying, well, if the Grizzlies are, I think, I want to say it's higher than 8. If they're 8 or lower, that pick goes to the Celtics. And so I think when they got around, I'm looking at 8, 9, 10, I'm like, okay, 10, no, 9, no. And then as soon as I think they said 9, it was like, I think it was like the Wizards or the Hawks or something. They're like, oh, that means the Grizzlies hop into the top 4. I'm like, what? I'm like, how did that happen? It's like we're automatically guaranteed a top 4 pick. And I'm like, oh my God, this is getting interesting. Yep. I'm like, this is getting good. I'm like, if I remember correctly, Zion, Ja, RJ Barrett are like the top 3. So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, I know what's going to happen. They're going to give us 4. I know it's going to be 4.
Yeah.
Then I see the Lakers. I'm like, oh my Lord, we're in the top 3.
Yep.
Then I see the Knicks, as much as it broke Stephen A's heart. And I kept watching the next day. I was laughing my tail off after that. And I'm like, after that 3, and it's New Orleans and Memphis. I'm like, oh my God, are you telling me out of all this, we might get Zion?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, we finna get Zion? And it was number 2. I was like, number 2, the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm like, hey, that's fine. Give me Ja Morant. I'm like, Ja Morant, I'm good with that.
Yep.
I'm like, yes. I'm like, nothing brought me down. When they said number 2 Memphis Grizzlies, I'm like, look, we're either gonna get Zion or Ja. I'm like, I'm fine with that. That is okay.
And right now, it's working out better for us to have Ja.
It is working out so much better for us to have Ja. I don't know what's going on with Zion in New Orleans. I can tell he wants to get the heck out of there. He don't want to be there. He want to be in New York.
That's I don't know where he wants to be, but I know he wants out. And hey, I'm just hoping for Zion because coming out, he was the guy that I was hoping that he wouldn't be a bust. Like I want him to come into the NBA and have a great career. And now, unfortunately, being that number 1 pick, you are under a microscope for everything. And hoping that he gets over his injuries. And of course, I know he's having those lower body injuries, and I'm like, all right, he may need that reset. If he gets that reset, it could turn things around for him. But yeah, Grizzlies having Ja, looking at it now, and even last year, or even when Ja was drafted, I was like, I'll take that. I was
exactly.
like, that's great.
I'm like, that it worked out perfectly for us in that situation. I'm like, look, give me 12. Give me Ja 12. In Ja we trust.
Yep. And look, either way, with whichever guy you got, they were going to put butts in seats.
Yes.
And, Ja now is going to, if the Grizzlies are smart, before it ever comes time for the end of his contract, they need to lock him up.
He's gonna get the rookie max. He's gonna get the rookie max. No, he ain't going nowhere. I don't care if he wants 35 million. Give him that money. He's already earned the super max. Hook him up.
Yep, exactly.
I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how bad it hurts our salary cap. You just gave Jaren Jackson a good amount of money. You go ahead and give Ja that money. I don't care how much it is.
Exactly. Like I said, I wanted to hop into some Grizzlies talk with you because after seeing you go to the games and obviously just how well they're playing, how exciting it is to watch them, I knew we had to hop into some of that talk, and now we'll switch back to talking about the Titans and get into your top 5 moments.
Absolutely. Number 5, Julio versus the Seahawks. And 6 catches, 128. Should have been a 7th catch for a touchdown. Should have been a 7th catch and a touchdown in that situation. But that was an awesome game. Derrick Henry breaks off a big run, winning in overtime and everything. But Julio, it gave us that glimpse like, if this is the Julio we get every week, oh my God, we might have something special as far as this is concerned. And I know it's been a struggle and everything with him, but that game gave me a lot of hope for Julio.
Yeah, exactly. Because that game showed, okay, when Julio is out there healthy and you get him the ball, or you at least target him more.
Yeah.
Here's what can happen. So, it makes a difference.
Yeah. I've always said, AJ and Julio, there is no excuse that AJ and Julio should not each get 8 targets a game.
Exactly.
Least. They each should get 8 targets a game.
And I don't care if the Titans only throw 16 times.
Exactly. 8 go to AJ, 8 go to Julio. Exactly. If those are the only 16 passes you throw in that game, AJ and Julio should be the only ones getting targeted.
Yep, exactly. So again, another great moment. What you got for us at 4?
Number 4, we're going to go to the other guy. AJ Downtown Broadway Brown versus the 49ers. And I hate I couldn't go to that game because I had to work the next day here. But what a showdown between him and Deebo Samuel.
Yes.
That was one heck of a ball game between those two. I mean, AJ needed every bit of those 11 catches he had. We needed every bit of it to win that game, but that was I was like, okay, has Tannehill finally figured it out? Go to your horses down the stretch. Go to your big play horses down the stretch. And he did that. 11 for 145 and a score. Man, what a game.
Yes. And like we weren't able to go to that one. Only game I missed all season. We went up north because, Thursday night game right there at Christmas time. We went up north to visit my wife's family. And, I'm watching the game on my phone, just seeing how electric Nissan Stadium is for that game. AJ going crazy. And I'm like, man.
Wish I was there.
Yeah, I love spending time with family, but man, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Now I will say the good thing about that, I had fun. I did sell that ticket for $200. I did sell that ticket for over $200. So shout out to whoever bought that ticket.
Yeah.
I got good money. I think a Titan fan might have gotten that. So shout out to them for that. But I hate I could not be at that game. But that was an awesome game, especially in the second half. They found a way to get the job done.
Yeah. And hey, you put over $200 in your pocket, and if it was a Titans fan, they got to see a show and a win. So win-win in both situations there.
Absolutely.
So now we'll number 3 for us. Top 3 now.
Top 3, and this is getting good. Number 3, Sunday night in Tinseltown against the Rams. We were talking about stadiums earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect the Titans to build a stadium nowhere close to SoFi, but I mean, Tinseltown, the defense put on a show. Remember the Titans? Remember the Titans defense. It makes me think back to Coach Yost telling the defense, be like, they better not gain another yard. You make them remember forever the night they played the Titans. And without the first game without Derrick Henry, I think we made the world remember the Titans. Like, man, they came out here. That defense put a whooping on the Rams. And just, I mean, 3 sacks from Big Jeff, the pick 6 for Kevin Byard. The defense, I mean, was outstanding against Matt Stafford, the eventual Super Bowl champion Rams. And we were thinking, you know what? This might just be a prelude. It could be Titans Rams 2. Like, all right, maybe I need to book my tickets to come on that SoFi.
Yeah.
But what a performance. I mean, I was at a watch party for the Titans fan club here in Memphis, and I'm doing the stream, and I'm just seeing all the excitement of everybody. I'm thinking, man, we having a party here. We're having a party in Hollywood. I'm like, hey, this is a perfect night.
Yep. Exactly. And, you know, like you said, first game, and that's the biggest thing. First game without Derrick Henry. Titans fans are wondering, you know, what this team's going to do. So much of the national media is counting the Titans out now. Henry's gone. Titans are done. And, you know, I kept, whether it was people at work, I said it on the podcast, I was like, it's games like these, situations like these, where the Titans' backs are against the wall. Vrabel finds a way to rally this team and do what everyone says he can't do and what everyone says this team can't do, and that's find a way to win. And I truly believe that, you know, Henry going down, the defense probably knew, okay, it's going to take our offense a couple of weeks to really get going and adjusting to life without Derrick Henry. Let's go out here and show them we're a top defense in this league and just have a game.
And they did. And they did absolutely that. And you're right. The rest of the nation, everybody was like, okay, who you got? Well, Rams. That's all we kept hearing. Stephen A. said it himself. Titan season is over.
Yep.
He just automatically assumed we were done. We had 0 shot. And we took care of business. We did exactly what we had to do to get the job done. And I'm just going to go out and throw a hint. This is going to be a theme for these top 3.
I like that. And, you know, it just thinking back on all these moments, especially, you know, that Rams game, because we also got to see, we made Matthew Stafford do his best Carson Wentz impression.
Yes.
Like getting after him, almost having that safety, and just making throw the ball up, and well, you know, picked off.
David Long picked it off and almost had a pick 6 there too.
Yep.
And you know, and then again, shout out to Adrian Peterson, got his 125th career touchdown at that time. So, you know, add on to his Hall of Fame career. So yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful Sunday night.
It was just great. So, and you know, Titans showing those primetime games. Hey, they show up for them.
Yes, absolutely. Nah, number 2 is a good one. Kansas City. And why I say this, it was a surprise even to me. I did not expect this type of performance that they put on against Kansas City. 27-3. You hold the unstoppable, unbeatable offense, this unstoppable, undeniable offense to 3 points a whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody in the media made an excuse saying, well, this Kansas City team ain't the same one that we are used to, and all this and that. Couple of things on that. First off, all their guys on offense played in that game.
There you
Mahomes
go.
in the game, Kelsey in the game, Tyreek in the game. So I don't want to hear no. And I want to say I don't know if Chris Jones played in that game. Now I don't remember if he played. Other than that, they were at full strength, pretty much. I don't remember anybody significant being out. I think Chris Jones might have been the anomaly. Might have.
Yeah, I can't remember for sure on him or not.
I want to say he might have been the only anomaly. Other than that, especially on offense, they were at full strength.
Right.
And all I kept thinking during that stream, I'm like, all right, Derrick Henry throw the touchdown, 7-0. Then you get the strip on Mahomes, we go 14-0. I'm like, okay. I've read this book before. I've seen this movie before with Kansas City. It's like they get down 14 and I'm like, we know it's gonna happen. I'm waiting for it. I'm like, Kansas City's gonna probably rile off 17 or 21 unanswered and just take the lead back. I know it's coming. I'm like, I'm just waiting for it to happen.
Yep.
But it never did. And that was the most surprising, shocking thing of all this. It's like, man, that whole rally I was expecting the Chiefs to have never came. I'm like, we have 27-3.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And we almost put Patrick Mahomes out in that game in particular. So shout out to Big Jeff. But man, that game shocked the heck out of me. And, I hate I wasn't there for that one. I made some money off of that one too.
Well, I was there and, I'm watching it going into halftime. Even the Chiefs fans that were there, you could look around. There was no worry on their face because they've seen what their team can do. Like their team is so explosive that even when they're down, they're not really out of it. And I'm telling, my wife, I'm like, got to keep our foot on their throat.
Exactly.
Got to keep them down. Cannot let them come out, get a touchdown. Just keep.
Well, you got,
them down. And
it's not like you got somebody
like we've done anything.
Push them off.
It's not like we've done anything in the second half, really. Right. But we kept them from doing anything. And that was the biggest thing. So yeah, and I'm kind of wondering what you're going to have at number 1 because when the Chiefs game hadn't been mentioned yet, I was thinking, okay, it's probably in that top 5 somewhere, and it is great. But now I want to get to that top moment for you.
All right, number 1. The drum roll, and I think we all probably know where this is going. It's got to be Monday night. Monday Night Football has to be number 1, and it's for a few reasons. First of all, not just the Long Henry touchdown that was broken in that game, and not just a big stop by Big Jeff on 4th down, which I thought, honestly, they were going to kick the field goal and go to overtime. And I think I was just very impressed with how we kept up with Buffalo that whole game. But I think the one thing that did it for me, and I was there, was just the electric atmosphere that night. I was like, I have never been to a Titans game like this. Right. That game and the Bengals game, just seeing it the way it was, I was like, I have never experienced it like this before, and it was absolutely awesome. In the beginning with the Bengals game, in this particular game, I honestly wanted to cry at how happy I was and how the atmosphere was looking. Yep. It was just that incredible, electric. I mean, electrifying atmosphere that whole time, and just the way the team played. They fought their tails off. And I'm going into this game like we're playing with house money. Nobody thinks we're going to win. I have no expectations. I'm like, and I said on the show, I said, with this game, go into this game like, you know what? Just enjoy this game, no matter what happens. Nobody thinks we're going to win this game anyway. Let's just go in here. We play our tails off and let the chips fall where they may. And henceforth, we win that game, then come back and win Kansas City 6 days later. Yep. It's like probably the best 6 days the Titans have played in a very long time. So that had to be number one. The light show and everything. I was just, man, probably one of the best games I've ever been to.
Exactly. And, you know, I think for sure that Monday night game against Buffalo, because like I said, I've still been thinking on my top 10, but through doing all of these, that Buffalo game stands out to me, and it's one of my top 2 for sure, because there was so many big moments in that game going up against, you know, what everyone was considering arguably the, you know, one of the top 2 powerhouses in, if, you know, maybe the top powerhouse
in the entire league.
In the entire league. And no one's giving us a chance to win it. Oh, Buffalo's going to be pissed off after, you know, last year. They're going to come in, just hand it to the Titans. Number 1 run defense. Derrick Henry crushes that. Oh, Josh Allen slipped. No, he ran into a brick wall that is Jeffrey Simmons.
Exactly.
Simmons pushing 2 offensive linemen and Allen back and keeping him from getting that. And like you said, the electricity in the stadium, it was something that, of course, this was mine and my wife's first year as a season ticket member, and we had never experienced that in Nissan Stadium up until that point. And I have to say, the only time that I have seen that Monday night game be beaten out as far as energy-wise had to have been the Bengals game in the playoffs, and you know, that's another thing that killed me so much about it, because I had never heard Nissan Stadium that loud. I mean, when we're in the stadium and not hearing whistles being blown and being confused about what's going on, that's when you know that the stadium is hitting a certain point of, okay, this is getting real on how loud we're being for everyone out on the field.
Exactly. And I mean, that game, you had, you know, Julio batted up ball off the helmet, Julio going to get it. You know, I was excited for Caleb Farley making his first start. Unfortunately, towards ACL in that game, which was unfortunate. With that, hopefully he comes back. Again, if you watched First Things Last, that idiot of a show, you know, Chris Broussard, although he needs to stick to NBA, you know, I mean, making it seem like we forget the fact Taylor Wan plays for the Bills.
Yeah.
You know, be like, oh yeah, Taylor Wan plays for the Bills, not the Titans. You know, Josh Allen Smith slips and everything. So I mean, you know, and with everything that just happened in that game, the ebbs and flows of that game, that atmosphere, that the Bengals game, I thought was just 2 of the all-time great atmospheres, probably besides the Music City Miracle, that I have ever seen in my life. Ever.
Right.
Ever. And it pales in no comparison at all. You know. And I mean, the only other moment I would probably say that it just got loud was the 99-yard run. And I think everybody was cheering for Derrick Henry to score. I think touchdown number 5, I think it would have been. I want to say it was either 4. It would have either been number 4 or number 5 in that game. But, you know, he let Deion Lewis try to go in there, which didn't work. But, yeah, Man, that Monday night game will go down as probably the most fun I ever had.
Right. Yeah. Like, just it was so electric. I mean, like you said, and I can't argue with that being, a top moment for this past season. And you've had a good list there. We'll say, what's up, TA? Tighten up to you. Hope you and the family doing well. The new baby,
Yeah.
AJ. Congrats again. And
Yes.
me and him were talking about, we talked about Ja earlier. Curry, I was messaging TA the other day during the All-Star game.
Curry.
the
That
the dude has an automatic sniper rifle
yeah.
for an
And
I mean,
that's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Golden State Warriors are one and the same. Patrick Mahomes is the Steph Curry of the NFL. It's like I would tell anybody, like with the Warriors, and we were talking about this earlier, with Kansas City, with the Warriors, you could be up by 25.
mm-hmm.
That lead is not safe.
Nope.
By any means. You could be up by 25 late in the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter. I guarantee you that lead is not safe at all.
Nope.
Because they can round off 30 just like that.
Yep.
And they can round off 30 points in less than 5 minutes.
Exactly. And Curry being the leader of that, because once he gets that hot hand and he gets
it ain't no stopping him.
It don't even matter if he's missing. He has that confidence of no matter every time I shoot, this thing's going in. Yeah. And I'm watching him in the All-Star game, and he's like, I forget how much he finished, but they were like 15 of 15, right? But 50. as far as his threes, they were like, he's 15 of 15. He's 16 of 16.
I want to say he hit 16 out of 27 in that game. I want to say he hit 16 threes in that game.
Yeah.
By himself.
And, from the logo, he's letting it fly and turning around and looking at Trae Young before it ever goes in. I'm like,
he throwing it up like, I know this going in. Ain't even looking at it.
And I will say, I thought he was going to break the All-Star game record for points scored. And, he had his chance, but I guess he used up all of his shooting powers on those other 16 threes, because I just knew he was about to hit it. But yeah, Curry, he's another top dude. And TA got a new channel in the works, Slasher Movies and Gaming. Definitely be looking for that. And
definitely got to get you on, TA. Definitely. I haven't forgotten.
And TA also hadn't shot you a message yet, but want to get you back on the channel here and find out your top 10 moments. I know for sure seeing that Byard pick 6 in person would have to be in your top 10. I mean,
yeah.
That's got to be in there.
That's right. He's out there in California. So shout out Ty Nelson, and TA. If you could, if you can get with the California Titans, tell them about me. Tell them about us.
Right. And yeah, he said Curry made 16. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, we've been through your top 10. Now, before we hop off here, I want to get your thoughts heading into this off season. In your opinion, what do, as far as the draft, free agent pickups, where does the Titans' focus need to be, and what moves do they need to make to get that Super Bowl run going this next year?
Well, besides re-signing Harold Landry, which is pretty obvious, focus on as much on the offensive side as possible. Defensively, besides getting Harold Landry back, you're pretty much set.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think Jack Rabbit is going to probably get cut, say about 6.9. And, Caleb Farley, it's time for him to step up and step on in and start. and hopefully put the injuries behind them. I think offensively they really need to show up the offensive line. I don't know if they'll bring Ben Jones back, maybe for a nice number, for a nice low number. They can bring back Ben Jones.
Mhm.
Either Saffold or Lawan is probably gone. Most likely, I would probably say Saffold is probably going to get the hook. And it's really nothing against him, but it's the fact $10 million against the cap.
Yep.
And we've noticed that almost every other game, it's like there's a time where he goes out for like a play or two every time.
Yep.
So, you got that. Hopefully Dylan Ray doesn't ready to start at right tackle, or if you want to put him at guard, you draft a tackle at some point. But first round of the draft, you gotta add some speed at wide receiver. You gotta add another wide receiver to go along with this, because I know eventually Julio is probably gonna go or retire. You need somebody to go with AJ to be that 1-2 punch. And offensive line, definitely either a guard, tackle, or guard/center, I should say. Tight end.
Right.
Got to get a tight end, whether it be an OJ Howard, a David Njoku, a Hayden Hurst would be nice, honestly, with that. So I just think they really got to focus on the offensive side of the ball. If you're not going to get rid of Tannehill, which they should definitely explore that.
Right.
If Indy is going to be somewhat in on Russell Wilson, you need to be in on Russell Wilson too. If all else, keep them from getting him. If nothing else, keep them from getting him. And so if you can get Russell Wilson, yeah, you may have to give up a couple first-round picks. I will wait till after the draft to do that. But get Russell Wilson, then you know what? You could trade Tannehill. You might be able to get, a second and a third, or maybe 2 seconds or 2 threes for him or something like that. You might be able to get something for Tannehill with, say, the Commanders, and I'm still not getting used to that. Maybe the Commanders or the Steelers, or somebody that's desperate for a quarterback. You might be able to fleece them with something like that. But if they could get rid of Tannehill for like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, I would be beyond excited. I don't know if that'll I doubt that'll happen, because it just seemed like for some crazy reason, the entire team is just so committed to Tannehill. They're coddling him basically. And I don't like that. I don't like that. It's like, that kind of feels like a loser mentality to me. But you got to work on the offensive side. If they got to be great around him, you got to make sure that offensive line is intact and get better, get some speed and another playmaker, wide receiver that can play in the slot and outside. And you got to get a tight end, a well-balanced tight end. So that's what I would say.
Yep. And, that's pretty much, I think that's where everyone is at. And I was watching A to Z the other day, and it was a guy I'd been thinking about, and I've been meaning to, when I've had other people on, ask them their thoughts. And his name is escaping me, but the wide receiver from Alabama that tore his ACL. That on A to Z they mention his name, and it's one of those things where I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm necessarily torn on it, because when the dude is healthy, he's a guy that can be a difference maker.
A game
breaker. Yeah, there's a lot of Titans fans out there, though, that if the Titans draft someone who's coming off a injury like that again,
and not ready to contribute right away,
A to Z, they brought up some good points. They said contributing right away doesn't have to be week one. Week one is not winning you the Super Bowl.
That's true.
You need a guy who can come in, and even if it's middle of the season before he starts playing, if he comes in at the middle of the season and he's actually getting open, he's actually catching passes, and making a difference then, that's when he's contributing in year one and making
Exactly.
that big difference.
I
So
agree.
I wanted to get your thoughts on him just because that was a name that I hadn't really heard mentioned much, and it may be because of that injury. So I wanted to ask you about him before we hopped off here.
I'm gonna say this. I haven't really began watching a lot of film on some of these guys just yet.
Mhm.
But that is something that I'm going to be preparing to do very soon. But hearing some of the stuff about him that, this guy has elite speed, elite world class speed. And I'm like, we know how J Rob is with injured guys. He's thinking I
Mhm.
could get value for these
Right.
guys. He struck lightning in a bottle with Big Jeff, and I remember that day in Nashville.
Mhm.
Um, all I kept thinking is, give me Montez Sweat, give me Montez Sweat, give me Montez Sweat. I wanted Montez Sweat so bad, and they went with Big Jeff, and I was slightly a bit disappointed at the time.
Mhm.
But as I saw him play, I'm like, dang, this guy can
Yeah.
play. And so, I mean, obviously, he's hoping he hits that with Caleb Farley. But I'm thinking he's thinking maybe third time is the charm as well.
Mhm.
So, Jameson Williams, I could see him being a guy the Titans definitely look at. And if he comes back, he tore his ACL in January. If he's ready to go, at least by training camp, which
Right.
I mean, I doubt that's going to be the case. But if he just comes in and contributes at some point in the middle of the year, week 7, week 8, and at least can kind of get his footing a
Mhm.
little bit, I like it. But I would say if we draft Jameson Williams, we better draft another receiver later in the draft. And I am praying J Rob goes local and brings my guy, Calvin Austin, from the University of Memphis. Bring him in as well. I've said this before. Speed, 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 more speed. You can never have enough speed.
Right.
I'm like, bring both of those guys in. You fix your speed problem. Austin can play while Jameson gets back from injury. Then when
Mhm.
Julio's gone, Jameson goes outside. You got AJ on the other side. Austin plays inside. I don't know how you defend against that. If he's 100% healthy and got that speed, and you got both of those guys, and all three of them are dangerous with the ball in their hands, good luck, as
Right.
AJ would say.
Exactly. So yeah, I just like I said, wanted to get your thoughts about heading into this next season. You mentioned we talked about a couple of guys here, and obviously, it's still early in the off season. Things
Right.
are going to start
Very.
ramping up more. We'll start kind of seeing, you know, things unfold. Got the combine coming up. I believe it's this next week.
Next week. Yeah, that's and
So
that's when things really gonna get ramped up. Like skills are
exactly.
gonna get taught. And that's after that combine, that's where you're really gonna see
Mhm.
how these mock drafts are gonna settle down. Because right now you don't know. But after
Right.
the combine and you see some pro days, that's where the mock drafts are going to really start making sense.
Exactly. So I'll be honest, haven't even really looked at a mock draft yet because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait till the combine starts up, these pro days start rolling in, see
Mhm.
what some of these guys look like. Like you said, go back watch film on these guys and see. But yep, truth, it's been awesome having you on. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. And honestly, like the conversation's just been flowing so smooth. I didn't even realize it had been that long.
Right. I saw that. I was like, man, I tell anybody like, my wife would probably be like, you doing a show? Don't you have to work tomorrow? And I'm like, hey, look, if I'm talking football, if I'm talking Titans football, I can lose some sleep for that.
Yep,
I am
exactly.
just fine. I am just fine losing a little sleep for Titan ball.
Exactly. So everyone, again, if you haven't already, go follow Titans and Truth on Twitter at TNT Blue Enforcer. Go subscribe to his YouTube, Titans and Truth. You have an Instagram as well, don't you? Or
I do have an Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is going to be at Titans_in_truth on Instagram. On Facebook, there is a Titans and Truth official page. That's where I try to put all the episodes out on there. I'm going to get better with that. And then there's the TNT Enforcers page. That is the fan page. Episodes go on there as well. So definitely check those pages out. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. I go on pretty much every Wednesday night around 6 p.m. I will be definitely talking a little combine this week as the combine kind of gets ready to begin. And we'll start hearing some stuff. I'm going to be checking with my sources too, trying to see who the Titans are talking to and try to see if I can get some juicy gossip of what's going on in Indianapolis. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll have some positional breakdowns as we get closer to free agency and the draft.
That's awesome, man. It sounds like you definitely got a lot coming up there. Like I said, everyone, go give him a follow. Y'all see the Titans and Truth hat. Matt, shout out that merch. Where they can get it. Do you have anywhere they can get it yet?
Yes. If you want any merchandise, whether it be the Titans and Truth hat, I also have we also do Titans and Truth shirts where it has the Titans and Truth logo on the front, and also on the back it'll have all of my, where you find me and everything with that. Get with me on any information. I'll get you with Ms. Latoya Akinyemi. She does my shirts. Or Out the Crib Customs on Instagram. He helps me with the hats and everything with that. So definitely working on some merchandise, and also got a couple of other shows that I'm looking at possibly launching going into the fall. Definitely going to be more NFL centric with the Truth League report. Definitely talking about some other things going on around the rest of the league. And we'll also, I'm going to just give a little tease out. Definitely going to be some stuff talking about Tennessee sports, talking about sports all over the state of Tennessee coming up at some point in the fall. So stay tuned for the little teasers for that.
There we go. Like I said, you got a lot going on. Looking forward to all that stuff coming out. And, like I said, we're definitely going to get you on again more this off season, going into next season. Going to be trying to, for like previews and even review shows for this next season, do more lives. So, I'm going to want to get more y'all on here just to chop it up, get y'all's thoughts. And it's been a fun time. I had a blast hearing your top 10, going back and forth on it, talking betting, talking Grizzlies, just everything. Again, man, thank you for coming on. It's been a blast.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely gonna make sure I return the favor and have you on TNT as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I'll be glad to have you, and we'll have some fun.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. And everyone, thank you for being in the chat. Y'all been great. This has been Titans Time, and as always, tighten up.